With Disney annual passes, your family can experience magical holidays and excitement at all 4 Disney parks over and over again. And while lots of Florida residents are enjoying the magic year-round using the monthly payment program, you could win your passes from WOCA The Source. Enter now for your chance to win at WOCA.com and tune in every day for your cue to call in and enter to win 4 annual passes to Walt Disney World. Daily prizes include $50 Disney gift cards. So log on, tune in, and win from WOCA The Source.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 22 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Wednesday morning. It's time for News Bites. This is the segment of the morning show where we bring to you the news from around the world, the nation, the state, the county, and the city, and we shorten it. We get to the point, cut to the chase, and allow you to hear as much news as we could possibly squeeze in 22 minutes. Usually, we get in between 20 and 25 stories, so sit back, get a cup of your favorite beverage, and catch up on the news. You will not have to spend all day in front of the TV unless you choose to, and this is a great way to give us an opportunity to put news back in News Talk. The first story, kind of disturbing. A truck, this is from the ABC News Network, by the way, a truck carrying extremely dangerous material used in medical treatment has been stolen in Mexico. The truck was transporting cobalt-60 from a hospital in the northern city of Tijuana to a radioactive waste storage facility when it was stolen in Tepojaco near Mexico City Monday, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. In a statement, cobalt-60 is a radioactive isotope and was being used in radiotherapy. Mexican authorities are conducting a search for the material and have issued a statement to alert the public. The truck is a white Volkswagen Worker with license plate 726DT8. Mexico's National Commission for Nuclear Security and Safeguards said. At the time the truck was stolen, the source was properly shielded. However, the source could be extremely dangerous to a person if removed from the shielding or if it was damaged. There was no indication from officials that the truck was headed for the United States, but now the Department of Homeland Security in our country is looking into the possibility of it crossing the border.
Wow. This is a story out of Tallahassee. For the first time in recent memory, there's a nativity scene in the rotunda of the Florida Capitol, complete with a miniature Jesus and a children's choir. Christian groups have set up a nativity display in the rotunda of the state capitol. Pam Olson with the Florida Prayer Network says there's a war against Christmas in America, and this is their way of making a stand. Olson says any other religion is welcome to set up their own display in the Capitol if they get the required permits. There's already a giant menorah for Hanukkah at the other end of the hall that towers over the manger. So good for them. I'm glad.
And this story from the Associated Press, recordings of 911 calls from the Newtown school shooting are being released days after a state prosecutor dropped his fight to continue withholding them despite an order to provide them to the Associated Press. For nearly a year, the Associated Press has been asking for an opportunity to review the tapes, which will now be released today to the News Cooperative in addition to other media organizations. The Associated Press will review the tape's content and determine what might meet its standards before releasing material to subscribers. We all understand why some people have strong feelings about the release of these tapes. This was a horrible crime, is a statement from Kathleen Carroll, Associated Press Executive Editor and Senior Vice President. It's important to remember, though, that the 911 tapes, like other police documents, are public records. Reviewing them is a part of normal news gathering in a responsible news organization. A total of 7 landline calls from inside the school to Newtown police are expected to be released sometime today.
1 minute you're a luckless dog in Vegas, left homeless by your master's home foreclosure and facing all but certain extermination. The next you're being whisked off to Canada by jet, where your new family, which has paid a cool $500 to adopt you, clasps you to its bosom. This September, Pono, a 3-year-old male Pomeranian, became the 1,000th dog to make that trip. Since then, more refugees have been airlifted out of Vegas at the rate of 8 to 16 dogs a week. This is according to Everett Croxon, executive director of Foreclosed Upon Pets International. The dogs owe their survival to an unlikely marriage of charity and commercial interest and to the law of supply and demand. Vegas has a dog surplus, Canada a shortage. Foreclosed Upon Pets International was started in 2008 to help find homes for foreclosed displaced animals. Richard Kaga, Executive Vice President of Petcetera, a pet store chain in Canada comparable to Petco in the U.S., tells ABC News that Canadian dog owners would not think of having a pet without taking care of it. Eventually, Petcetera and FUPI worked out a deal. FUPI would fly dogs up to Vancouver, where they would be taken in hand by Petcetera for adoption through the chain's 18 big box stores. More than 1,000 dogs have been adopted so far, with owners paying $499 per dog. Wow, what a cool story.
The next story is from the Washington Times. House Speaker John Boehner announced yesterday he has hired a longtime advocate of immigration legalization to be his policy advisor, encouraging immigration activists but angering those who want to see a crackdown and who say Mr. Boehner's move signals he still wants an amnesty bill to pass. Rebecca Talent, whom Mr. Boehner's office confirmed it was hiring, worked on immigration issues for Senator John McCain and former Representative Jim Colby. Both of those Arizona Republicans led the push for legalization within the Republican Party. Ms. Talent will leave her job as immigration policy director at the Bipartisan Policy Center to start in Mr. Boehner's office sometime today. Talent's hiring suggests he really does still want to push an amnesty through the House, which to me suggests that the immigration hawks still have their work cut out for them. That was a quote from Mark Krikorian, executive director of the Center for Immigration Studies, which wants to see a crackdown. And again, that's from the Washington Times.
This is a story out of Cape Canaveral. Space Exploration Technologies, also known as SpaceX, launched a commercial communications satellite into Earth orbit late yesterday afternoon. The launch came after a couple of delays, including one that fell on a Thanksgiving launch date. Liftoff took place yesterday at 5:41 p.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Launch controllers confirmed a successful ignition and eventual burnout and separation of the rocket's first stage, followed by the successful lighting of the second stage and climb to orbit. The payload is destined for a geosynchronous orbit of the kind that is common to both communication and weather satellites. This satellite will reach an altitude where the time it takes to orbit the Earth is the same amount of time it takes the Earth to complete one revolution on its axis. From the perspective of a ground observer, these satellites appear stationary. The positioning and the altitude, roughly 23,000 miles above the Earth, give them plenty of coverage.
And this story is from ABC News. 2 skydivers were killed yesterday when they collided mid-air during a jump over Eloy, Arizona. One skydiver was pronounced dead on the scene and the other died at a local hospital. Police Sergeant Brian Jerome said in a statement that police have not released the identities of the victims. Witnesses told police that the 2 skydivers collided in mid-air with their parachutes open approximately 200 to 300 feet above the ground. Following the collision, their parachute canopies collapsed and both individuals plummeted to the ground. A third skydiver also suffered injuries, but police say it was not related to or caused by the collision between the other 2 skydivers.
President Barack Obama's Kenyan-born uncle, who ignored a deportation order more than 2 decades ago, was granted permission to stay in the United States yesterday. Judge Leonard Shapiro made the decision after Onyango Obama, age 69, testified that he had lived in the United States for 50 years, been a hard worker, paid income tax, and been arrested only once. Asked about his family in the U.S. yesterday, he said, "I do have a nephew." Asked to name the nephew, he said, "Barack Obama. He's the president of the United States." Onyango Obama, the half-brother of the president's late father, has lived in the United States since the 1960s. He was ordered to leave the country in 1992, but he remained. This is reported by MSNBC.
And this story is from Fox News. Amid fears that 3D printers could produce plastic weapons that easily evade metal detectors, the House voted yesterday to renew a ban on plastic and other non-metal guns. The bill, which was approved by voice vote, is a rare piece of gun legislation that both parties seem capable of agreeing on. It was sponsored by Republican Representative Howard Coble of North Carolina and Democratic Representative Steve Israel of New York. The bill, which provides a 10-year extension of a ban that has been in place for 25 years, heads next to the Senate.
The European Court of Human Rights is hearing a case brought by two terror suspects who accuse Poland of conniving in U.S. human rights abuses. The two men are currently being held at the U.S. Guantanamo Bay prison in Cuba. It is the first time that allegations about a CIA black site prison in a European country have been heard in an open court. Abu Zubaydah and another al-Qaeda suspect say they were tortured at a secret prison in Poland in 2002 to 2003. Nearly a year ago, the court ruled against Macedonia for abuses suffered by Khalid El-Masri, another suspect who is held for CIA interrogation. This is reported by the BBC.
And this one is from CNN. A federal judge has given a green light for Detroit to proceed with its bankruptcy, the largest municipal bankruptcy in history. The ruling opens the door for the city to cut billions of dollars in payments that are owed to city employees, retirees, investors, and other creditors. Unions and pension funds had argued that the city should not be eligible to use bankruptcy court protections. They said that regardless of the Detroit's financial troubles, city and state officials did not negotiate with creditors in good faith in an effort to reach a deal on its liabilities. Again, I got that story from the CNN network.
The U.S. Congress is to introduce new sanctions legislation to continue pressuring the Obama administration over its interim nuclear deal with Iran, a leading U.S. senator promised yesterday. Senator Marco Rubio, a Republican senator from Florida, who is among the most prominent of a group of 14 senators preparing a new sanctions bill, is quoted as saying, "Conditional sanctions legislation will emerge next week as an urgent and critical issue." The move would come in direct defiance of White House requests not to impose further conditions on Tehran, warning that it could undermine delicate talks aimed at ending a decade-long standoff over its illegal nuclear program, reported by The Telegraph.
And this story is from the Associated Press. A California woman pleaded not guilty yesterday to what is believed to be the first traffic citation alleging a motorist was using Google's computer in an eyeglass known as Google Glass. The device features a thumbnail-sized transparent display above the right eye. The technology will not be made widely available to the public until next year, but defendant Cecilia Abadi was one of about 10,000 explorers who received the glasses earlier this year as part of a tryout. Her case touches several hot-button issues, including distracted driving, wearable technology that will one day become mainstream, and how laws often lag technological developments. Abadi was pulled over in October on suspicion of going 80 miles per hour in a 65 mile per hour zone on a San Diego freeway. The California Highway Patrol officer saw that she was wearing Google Glass and tacked on a citation usually given to people driving while a video or TV screen is on in the front of their vehicle. Abadi, who is a software developer and a tech true believer, pleaded not guilty to both charges in San Diego traffic court.
Concerned that investors are still not getting the Federal Reserve's message that interest rates will stay low even after the Fed stops buying bonds, a top official of the U.S. Central Bank yesterday called for the Fed to provide more details soon on what would lead it eventually raise interest rates. This is a quote, "My view would be that we would not be raising the funds rate even if the unemployment rate was below 6.5%, as long as inflation continued to be low for some time. I would get our communication around this post 6.5%, the sooner the better." This was a quote from John Williams, president of the San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank. This is a story reported by Reuters.
This one is also from Reuters. Police in Britain are examining whether Guardian newspaper staff should be investigated for terrorism offenses over their handling of data leaked by Edward Snowden, Britain's senior counterterrorism officer said yesterday. The disclosure came after Guardian editor Alan Rusbridger, summoned to give evidence at a parliamentary inquiry, was accused by lawmakers of helping terrorists by making top-secret information public and sharing it with other news organizations. The Guardian was among several newspapers which published leaks from U.S. spy agency contractor Snowden about mass surveillance by the National Security Agency and Britain's eavesdropping agency, GCHQ. And again, that story is from Reuters.
O.J. Simpson's lawyers said yesterday they will take his case back to the Nevada Supreme Court, hoping justices will overturn a lower court judge's decision last week denying the former football star a new trial in his armed robbery case. A notice mailed to the state high court gives Simpson's new legal team until January 13th to file documents supporting their claim that Simpson did not receive a fair trial and challenging the recent ruling by Clark County District Judge Linda Marie Bell. Simpson appeals attorney Patricia Palm said. Patricia is quoted as saying, "We remain convinced there were errors. Bell's ruling means Simpson, age 66, is not eligible for parole until he's at least age 70, reported by ABC.
If you have a business and you would like to advertise on this program, Robin and or I will read your ad live as we read all these stories in the morning, or you would just perhaps rather advertise in a recorded form. You're welcome to do either or. Give us a call, speak to one of our sales executives and say, hey, I want to advertise on WOCA. They'll tell you how easy it is, and especially this time of year, how you can get more business through your door simply by putting some advertisements on the radio. So give us a call at 732-8000 or visit us at our offices located right outside the food court door at the Paddock Mall.
Mm-hmm.
A 76-foot Norway spruce from Shelton, Connecticut is set to be lit at New York's Rockefeller Center Christmas tree extravaganza this evening. The annual holiday tradition will take place tonight. The 75-year-old tree will be illuminated by 45,000 multicolored LED lights and topped with a 9.5-foot wide Swarovski star. Today Show personalities Matt Lauer, Al Roker, Savannah Guthrie, and Natalie Morales will co-host Christmas in Rockefeller Center, which will air on NBC at 8 p.m. tonight. Artists such as Mary J. Blige, the Goo Goo Dolls, Jewel, and Leona Lewis will be performing. The first Christmas tree was set up in 1931 by workers who were building Rockefeller Center. The first tree lighting ceremony was held in 1933.
Wow, sounds like fun. U.S. regulators will meet on December the 10th to adopt the final version of the WOCA rule banning banks from making speculative bets with their own money, the agency said in a statement released today. The Federal Reserve, Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, and Commodity Futures Trading Commission will act on that date, according to the notices from the regulators. The remaining agency that needs to approve the rule, the Securities and Exchange Commission, will probably act at about the same time as the others, said SEC Chairman Mary Jo White. This is a quote from Mary Jo. If one or more of the other regulators have set December the 10th, I would expect us to act on or about that date as part of that coordination. This is a report reported by Bloomberg.
And this next story from the Associated Press: a wintry storm pushing through the through the western half of the country is bringing bitterly cold temperatures that prompted safety warnings for residents in the Rockies and threatened crops as far south as Southern California. The jet stream is much farther south than normal, allowing the cold air to push in from the Arctic and drop temperatures by 20 to 40 degrees below normal levels. AccuWeather meteorologist Tom Kynes said yesterday areas of Montana and the Dakotas were forecast to reach lows in the minus 20s, while parts of California could see the thermometer drop into the 20s. The icy Arctic blast was expected to be followed by another one later in the week, creating an extended period of cold weather that has not been seen since the late 1990s. Officials warned residents to protect themselves against frostbite if they're going to be outside for any length of time. When it gets this cold, you don't need 30, 40 mile per hour winds to get that wind chill down to dangerous levels. All it takes is a little breeze, Kynes said. The storm hit the northern Rockies on Monday and Tuesday, dumping up to 2 feet of snow in the mountains and in Yellowstone National Park.
Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah praised the nuclear agreement between Iran and world powers, saying that it had prevented a potential war in the region. Speaking in an interview with Lebanon's OTV yesterday, Nasrallah said that Israel would not possibly bomb Iran's nuclear facilities without receiving a green light from the United States. He stated that U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry had made it clear that America did not want any more wars in the Middle East. He stated that the agreement signals the fact that no single nation has a monopoly on power, reported by the Jerusalem Post.
And the next story is from MSNBC. Students in the United States made scant headway on recent global achievement exams and slipped deeper in the international rankings amid fast-growing competition abroad. According to test results released yesterday, American teens scored below the international average in math and roughly average in science and reading compared against dozens of other countries that participated in the 2012 Program for International Student Assessment, which was administered last fall. Vietnam, which had its students take part in the exam for the first time, had a higher average score in math and science than the United States. Students in Shanghai, China's largest city with upwards of 20 million people, ranked best in the world, according to the test results.
The U.S. and Japan will work together to prevent any attempt by China to change the status quo in the Asia-Pacific region, the U.S. Vice President Joe Biden has said on a visit to Northeast Asia. His comments came at the start of a week-long trip that will be dominated by rising tensions between China and Japan over a territorial dispute. Biden, who will visit Japan, China, and South Korea, is seeking to avoid escalation in the dispute, which intensified late last month when Beijing imposed an air defense identification zone in an area of the East China Sea that includes the Senkaku Islands, known as the Diaoyu Islands in China, which Japan and China both lay claim to. This is a story from The Guardian.
The next story is from CBS. The 113th Congress this year has been exceptionally unproductive. In fact, it's on track to be one of the least productive ever in terms of bills passed and signed into law. Now, with just 2 weeks left on the legislative calendar this year, lawmakers are hard-pressed to renew a series of laws set to expire in the new year and meet other looming deadlines. Before leaving for their winter holiday recess, Congress is attempting to broker deals over a farm bill and food stamps, unemployment benefits, the regulation of 3D printed guns, and a Medicare doc fix. The lawmakers are also working on a budget agreement to avoid another government shutdown early next year.
A team of French scientists probing the death of Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat in 2004 do not believe he was poisoned, according to leaks from their report. They have reportedly concluded he died after a generalized infection. A previous report by Swiss scientists said tests on his body showed unexpected high activity of polonium. This moderately supported theory, long believed by many Palestinians, that he was poisoned. Arafat's widow, Suha Arafat, told reporters in Paris that she was upset by these contradictions by the best European experts on the matter, reported by BBC.
All right, that's all the time we have for News Bites. This is our attempt to put news back in News Talk, and it's your way of getting caught up on the news without spending all day in front of the TV. And we do this each weekday between 8:37 or so and 9 o'clock. We usually get between 20 and 25 stories in. And remember, if you're a business and you'd like to advertise on WOCA, whether it's in this program that we just finished or any other day part on WOCA, come into the studios, come into the offices outside the entrance of the Paddock Mall where the food court is located, or you can give us a call at 732-8000 and speak to a sales executive and have it explained how it works, what we do for you, and how it'll help your business have more business. Robin, how many stories did we get in today?
25.
Not bad, 25.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a little break and be right back.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala. ABC News Now. I'm Karen Chase. Some victims' family members say they're saddened that the Sandy Hook 911 tapes are being released today, so close to the one-year anniversary of the school shooting. But after a year-long battle, a Connecticut court ruled the tapes can be made public, and prosecutors abandoned their efforts to keep them private. Was he asleep at the switch? A union representative says the driver of a New York City passenger train fell into a hypnotic daze just before the train derailed and snapped out of it too late. Investigators who interviewed him a second time say he showed deep remorse. Federal Transportation Department officials are blasting the train line, calling recent accidents unacceptable. The coldest air in 16 years is making people shiver from the Dakotas and Minnesota to Texas. A polar blast has prompted winter weather advisories in 25 states. The temperature is in double digits below zero in some parts of the Dakotas. A group of middle school students in North Carolina staged a different kind of flash mob. They did yoga and meditation outside a museum, saying they wanted to share their feelings of peace with others. This is ABC News.
Geico presents another helpful message from your conscience.
As your conscience, I want to chat with you about saving money on car insurance by switching to Geico. People love Geico. Why do you think they have a 97% customer satisfaction rating? Because great service and saving money is satisfying. More satisfying than taking pens from work. So switch to Geico. And remember, someone has to order pens for the office. Don't make it harder on them.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Do you know what that sound is? That's your new digital marketing department. And that'll be your new web designer. And that's Haibu, where these experts are joined by many more, from web designers to search marketing specialists, who work hard to get your business noticed online and on mobile. Best of all, Haibu can do it all for you, or give you the tools to do it yourself. To find out more, go to haibu.com. That's HIBU.com, or call 877-938-HIBU. Oh, that'll be your next new customer. Haibu, made for business.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Life jackets save lives. We're in Florida. Sunshine mixing with clouds today. Watch out for a shower or two, especially during the afternoon hours. The high 78 to 82. There'll be a shower in spots this evening, then clear to partly cloudy skies later tonight with a low of 61 to 65. More sun than clouds and pleasant tomorrow. The high 79 to 83. For Friday, sunny to partly cloudy, high again 79 to 83. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
On December 21st, join us for the WOCA Jingle Ball, an evening at the Appleton Museum. From 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., come enjoy the beautiful collection of colorful trees, nutcrackers, and countless decorations throughout the Appleton Museum. Musicians from the Ocala Symphony Orchestra will be performing throughout the first floor exhibits, while you are enjoying holiday entertainment and culinary delights. Your donation will help provide Marion County children the opportunity to experience the magic of Christmas on Christmas Day through Ocala's Operation Feed 100 program. A limited amount of tickets will be available, so for more information and to purchase your tickets, go to WOCA.com and click on the Jingle Ball link.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, The Source.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.